Imagine two people earning the same income, living in the same city, and facing the same prices, yet over time their financial lives begin to diverge in a way that feels almost invisible at first, and then suddenly undeniable. The difference often begins not with income, but with a threshold, a number that quietly changes how decisions are made, how risk is perceived, and how time itself starts to feel. That number for many is $10,000. At very low savings levels, money behaves differently. Every expense carries weight. Every unexpected cost disrupts stability, and decisions are made under pressure rather than intention. When your available cash is close to zero, the system forces short-term thinking, not because of mindset, but because of math. A single bill can erase weeks of progress, and so the brain adapts by prioritizing immediacy, even when it conflicts with long-term goals. Reaching 10,000 does not solve financial life, but it changes the structure of decisions. At that point, expenses no longer feel like existential threats. They become variables that can be absorbed, adjusted, or delayed. This creates psychological space, and that space is where different behaviors begin to emerge. Instead of reacting, a person can compare, evaluate, and sometimes even wait, which is a subtle but powerful shift. From a mathematical perspective, the difference is not dramatic in percentage terms, but it is significant in function. $10,000 does not generate meaningful passive income on its own, yet it acts as a buffer that reduces volatility in daily life. If an unexpected expense of $500 appears, it represents 5% of total savings instead of 100% of available cash. The emotional response to that difference is not linear, it is exponential, because the perceived risk of losing everything is removed. This is where behavioral economics begins to take over. When losses no longer threaten survival, decision-making becomes less defensive and more strategic. People at this threshold often start to think in terms of optimization rather than preservation. They begin to ask different questions, not, "Can I afford this today?" but, "Is this the best use of my resources over time?" And that shift alone compounds into entirely different financial trajectories. Historically, small capital thresholds have always separated different classes of decision makers. In early trade economies, having surplus inventory allowed merchants to wait for better prices instead of accepting immediate offers. During industrial expansion, access to modest capital allowed individuals to invest in tools or machinery, shifting them from laborers to owners. The numbers change across time, but the structure remains consistent. A small buffer creates optionality, and optionality changes behavior. There is also a hidden system at play. Many financial products, opportunities, and efficiencies are only accessible once a certain level of liquidity exists. Bulk purchasing reduces cost per unit. Avoiding debt avoids interest leakage, and having reserves prevents forced decisions under unfavorable conditions. Without that initial threshold, people are effectively locked into higher cost pathways, not by choice but by constraint. However, it is important to understand that 10,000 is not a finish line, it is a transition point. The system does not suddenly reward you, nor does it guarantee progress. What it does is remove a layer of friction that previously dictated your behavior. From there, outcomes depend on how that new flexibility is used, whether it is directed toward consumption, preservation, or gradual investment. Over time, the compounding effect of better decisions, even small ones, begins to show. Avoiding a high-interest expense here, choosing a more efficient purchase there, or simply having the ability to wait instead of react. These do not feel significant in isolation, but they accumulate quietly. The system does not reward effort directly, it rewards positioning, and this threshold is one of the first positions that begins to matter. In the end, $10,000 is less about the money itself and more about what it changes internally. It shifts the relationship between time, risk, and choice. It allows a person to step slightly outside of the reactive loop that defines early financial life and begin interacting with money as a system rather than a series of emergencies. And once that shift happens, even subtly, the trajectory that follows is rarely the same.